Right now, I believe the percent contained of the Palisades fire or the general wildfire, 14%. And there's a new forecast they're calling a red flag warning. It's going to get worse. The winds are going to pick up again. And despite the tremendous efforts by volunteers, by firefighters, by law enforcement, and everybody in Southern California, the expectation is that this is going to get worse. The death toll is already it's at 24, expected to get worse. Hundreds of thousands have been evacuated. This is your latest update on this, guys. And we are now hearing the new estimates for economic damage. AccuWeather is forecasting $250 billion in damage. I've got the Air Now government map on this fire, my friends, and it's the fire has wiped out entire neighborhoods, and this is just an overlay map of Altadena and the Palisades, but you can see just grid neighborhoods gone, just completely gone. And so I hope everybody takes this seriously. I know it's shocking and terrifying, but I got to say it. I have to say it again and again. This is a failure of leadership. Now, in California, the narrative they're running with is that you can't stop the winds and fires happen. They're trying to blame climate change. That is wrong. I got a source for you, but we know this. The majority of fires are started by people. And you get these large, let's put it this way. You take a look at San Francisco, and when California drops their threshold for shoplifting, remember when it used to be if you shoplift, you got arrested, and then they raised it saying only things above 900 or whatever number it was? Well, of course, people started robbing these stores. And I understand the mentality behind we can't deal with shoplifting. I mean, let's be honest. You've got murders, theft, kidnappings, and then you get a phone call and someone says, yeah, they stole $20 worth of hair product. The cops are going to be like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. So what happens? People do it more. That's the idea where the idea of broken windows policing came in, that if you go after the smallest crimes, it stops the crimes that move on above it. I don't know that it's completely correct, but what I can say is what we see now in general is that you get so many people in an area with a decaying culture and you get fire. Homeless people across this country, report after report after report, setting fires, not because they want to burn things down or hurt people, because they're trying to stay warm. There was one story I pulled up last week. Homeless people were in a building, cold in the winter, created a fire in the building to keep themselves warm, and they burned the whole building down. It's cultural decay, my friends. But the problem that I see is when we can look at this and we can discern, rather simply, that you have individuals starting the fires. Many of these progressives in California choose instead to say climate change, which means we will never solve this problem. If they want to blame the fact that the wind happens, or sure, the temperatures are going up, you can't do anything about that. Sure, if you want to talk about reducing carbon emissions and playing that environmental game, even if that would solve the problem, you're talking about 30-year mitigation plans. When we can look at the cause of this fire now and is largely believed to have been burning embers from a party. But how do we solve this problem when people want to just believe these ridiculous stories? And this is the issue of left versus right, my friends. The left largely says all of humanity must change their behavior so that in 30 years the fires stop. And the right is saying, I don't know, how about you just stop that guy from lighting a fire? Sure, both can be important things to do, but right now the fires we're looking at are a combination of recklessness, failed reservoirs, a lack of firefighters, a lack of supplies. Oh boy. Jimmy Kimmel cried and criticized Donald Trump. We're going to get into that one and go into the politics in a later segment. I know, because I get wrapped up in that stuff. But that'll be over at youtube.com/Timcast later as we go down how they've been attacking Trump over this and what's really going on. But let's talk about the fire and the information that you need about what's currently going on. Before we get started, my friends, let's keep the show going. Castbrew.com. Go to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. It's our company. We sponsor ourselves. Ian's Graphene Dream. This guy's crazy. He sold over 1,000 bags in a week and a half. People really love Ian's coffee. But we also, my friends, if you go down to all the coffee, focus with Mr. Bocus. We've sold about 100 of these so far. We got to get it on the front page because everybody's been asking for it. It's our espresso blend. And while I will say we sponsor ourselves, the show has never taken money from the coffee. The coffee plan, all the money we made from it is to open these locations, create physical spaces, and that's what we're using that money for. And what I can tell you right now is over 100 Cast Brew location requests for our franchise have been submitted. So good news all around. Head over to timcast.com, click join us to become a member. Your membership is basically, look, you get access to the Discord server, to our members only uncensored content. We were hanging out with Jack Posobiec last night. But it largely just is, do you believe in what we do? Do you want us to do more? Do you think this company should exist? The Washington Post, despite losing 90% of their audience, still pulled in $174 million. So we can gloat about beating the mainstream media and being the new media, but we're still lagging behind and they will strike back. But let's start with the news here. Daily Mail reporting terror as LA hit by unprecedented new warning amid fears 70-mile-an-hour winds could trigger a gigantic new inferno. Let me pull up the current Air Now map for you guys. And we have here, for those that are listening, I'll just describe it. It is insane. The spread of the Palisades fire continues. It is not contained. And we can see here right now, this is a dark canyon near Monte Nido, just north of Malibu, in the Malibu area. And the fire is spreading very, very close. I mean, for anybody who's ever been there, for anybody who knows this, it's shocking and terrifying. Then, of course, we can see here, it's stretching almost to the homes in the valley. Now, of course, like it absolutely has burned down many of these residential areas, just completely wiped out in the Palisades neighbor. I mean, look at this. Absolutely devastating. And you can see that the fire is spreading into residential areas. These are embers. When the wind blows, carries the embers that land, and you might not notice that tiny little speck on a roof. And then 20, 30 minutes later, there's a fire. And if you don't catch it and it grows, you're not putting it out. So we can see here, it's the fire, getting close to the Encino Reservoir. I hope and I pray for all of the people who are in these areas. I have friends who live up in these areas. It's terrifying. And then, of course, you have the Altadena fire. And this is insane. This entire residential block at the base of the mountain here is just gone. And the fire is, of course, spreading into these residential areas. It's terrifying. Right here, we can see the fire encroaching on the Jet Propulsion Laboratories. It's this area right here, so very worrying. But let me pull up the latest update here. The Daily Mail says, fire-ravaged LA has been just placed under an unprecedented wind warning amid fears 70-mile-an-hour gusts could trigger a new inferno. And in fact, my friends, it did. Now, the good news is what they're calling the auto fire has been contained. This is a fire broke out in Ventura County on Monday near the Santa Clara River. It was called the auto fire. But the latest update is that it has been contained. Take a look at this. This is crazy. 55 acres. And they were able to stop it. So very incredible work on the part of the firefighters. Getting in for these new fires, getting in early and stopping them before they spread. The issue with the Palisades fire, the Hearst fire, the Eaton fires, that they're so large, it's exponentially growing. And the amount of mitigation just doesn't reach that number. So we have the Wikipedia page here for the Palisades fire. We love Wikipedia. We love them. But we can take a look right now. The latest update is as of 6 a.m. yesterday, only 14% has been contained. Now that's an increase from 11. But it's growing exponentially. Over 5,000 structures have been destroyed as of right now. And once again, with this red flag warning of increased winds, I don't know how they stop it. I don't. And we heard from Joe Rogan last week. I'm sorry, not last week, but months ago. The video went viral last week when he was saying he talked to a firefighter who said the winds are going to come in and it's going to burn LA to the ground. You know, Gavin Newsom doesn't want to take responsibility for the drained reservoirs, for failing to build new reservoirs. He's blaming the locals, but here we go. Now, okay, so the update here is actually over 12,000 buildings have been destroyed. The National Weather Service issued a fourth particularly dangerous situation warning to take effect 4 a.m. Tuesday, cautioning that winds of up to 70 miles an hour will last through noon Wednesday. Holy crap, man. No rain in sight. No rain in sight. Huge swaths of bone-dry city are under the new warning from Ventura across much of San Fernando Valley, while areas from San Diego to San Bernardino remain under conventional red flag warnings. The fourth warning comes after the previous three this fire season brought havoc to the densely populated area. Meteorologists warn that unseasonable drought-like conditions have turned the city into potential kindling as high winds set in. The last significant rainfall in downtown LA came in May 2024. And since October, just 0.16 inches of rain has fallen, compared to the historical average of 5.34 inches by this time. So, drought. Climatologist Bill Patzert told the outlet that the past 9 months has been one of the driest in the historical record going back to 1900. During my career, I've never seen punishing Santa Ana events so overwhelm the normal winter rain season. For those that don't know, LA doesn't really have a winter. It is funny, though. I lived in LA for a little bit, and one of my friends, you know, who lived there her whole life was like, no, it does get cold in LA. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, it drops down to like high 50s. And I busted out laughing, and I was just like, lady, high 50s is t-shirt and shorts for us in the Midwest. You kidding me? It was kind of cute. Yeah, it gets cold here. It's high 50s. I was like, oh, okay. We don't even turn our heat on when it's high 50s. Just put a sweater on. Come on. But winter in LA is called the rainy season. And so come fall time, it's very humid and there's fog and it rains. And that's typical for a lot of these areas of this climate. They call it the rainy season. It's supposed to be raining right now, and it's not. My friends, understand, we are in the dead of winter, and LA is on fire. Now, of course, they're going to say this proves climate change. It literally doesn't, because drought in a desert, I mean, these things happen. LA is a desert. It doesn't rain that much. It's dry often, and you can't say simply because weather happens that climate happens. And this is the thing that, you know, AOC got in trouble for because she's in D.C. and the storm alarms go off because there was a tornado warning. And she puts out this video where she's like, there's a tornado warning in D.C. This is climate change. And people are like, no, this is weather. The fact that the sirens exist proves that for a long time, decades, we've known tornadoes can happen in Washington, D.C. Thank you. Bye. But this is what they're going to do. They're going to politicize it and weaponize it, when in reality, the politics here, the issue, is that they should have been prepared for this. Because let me tell you, even if it was climate change, you mean to tell me that y'all in California have been screaming about climate change for 27 years, or however many years, and you did not prepare for this? I mean, that just sounds like it's your fault. If you want to say people should drive less, people, you know, the carbon emissions are causing these erratic weather patterns. Okay, well, what did you do to prepare to mitigate the damages from this? Nothing. So how does that make sense? They go around screaming and preaching and demanding money. They tax you. They tax your gas. And what do they do with the money? Do they fill the reservoirs? Do they build new reservoirs? Do they hire new firefighters? Nope. So explain to me in any regard why I should trust you when you say you want to tax us and regulate us over climate change. You couldn't even put a fire out, and you claimed you knew it was coming, and you're claiming now this is exactly what you've been warning about. I say just this to all the progressives saying we've been warning about climate change. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, regardless, you do nothing to mitigate it. So how about we just forget all your regulations and policies? Didn't work. You did nothing. They're going to mention in the Daily Mail article, in each of the three previous instances of particularly dangerous situation fire warnings being issued, the resulting blazes brought devastation. The first in November, the Mountain Fire in Ventura County burned almost 20,000 acres and razed 240 buildings. The next month, the Franklin Fire hit Malibu, destroying 20 buildings. Much less than we're seeing now, my friends. According to the LA Times, the particularly dangerous situation alert was traditionally only used by the National Weather Service for particularly devastating tornadoes. Did you guys see the fire tornado video? No joke, there's a video of a fire tornado. That's terrifying, man. Well, here's where it gets crazy. Donald Trump's got his work cut out for him with California, but you got to bring California to heel. AccuWeather estimates more than $250 billion in damages and economic loss from the LA wildfires. Holy crap, man. To put the magnitude of loss into context, this latest damage and economic loss estimate surpasses the numbers for the entire 2020 wildfire season. They were putting it at $150 billion just the other day, calling it the most expensive in history. Now they're saying it could be upwards of 275, in fact. AccuWeather says, as the fires continue to rage across SoCal and the scope of catastrophic damage, loss of life, business disruption, and other economic impacts become clear, AccuWeather has updated and increased its preliminary estimate of the total damage and economic loss between $250 and $275 billion. These fast-moving, wind-driven infernos have created one of the costliest wildfire disasters in modern U.S. history. Hurricane-force winds sent flames ripping through neighborhoods filled with multi-million-dollar homes. The devastation left behind is heartbreaking, and the economic toll is staggering. Take a look at these images. It's heartbreaking stuff. Wow, man. You know, a lot of these people, they're not rich. There are a lot of people who are wealthy up there, but not everybody. Some of these neighborhoods, man, are working class, middle class. Some people, geez. And some of these are big mansions, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of rich people in the Palisades. It's a beautiful place to be. That's brutal. I mean, you know, I look at this pool right here and I'm just thinking like, what if you had a pump? It's just a thought. And you were pumping this water at a low amount and spraying your house to keep it wet. Could that have saved it? I don't know. I don't know, man. I do remember seeing this story about a guy who put sprinklers on the top of his house. And then when the wildfire hit, they turned on like normal fire suppression and his house did not burn down. I don't know what that story was. It's been a long time. These photos are heartbreaking, man. Look, disasters happen. If Donald Trump is going to come in and provide any kind of relief, the reality is there's got to be stipulations. California must be brought to heel. Their policies have failed. They did not do their jobs. And if the rest of this country is going to foot the bill to try and help them out, and I think we should, it comes with stipulations. I put it this way. You got a friend. He's out of work and he needs a place to sleep. You say, okay, you can crash at my place, but you've got to be looking for work. And if at any point I feel like you're not, you're out. Dude says, you got it, buddy. Crashing on the couch every day, putting on a nice pair of clothes, some slacks, and says, I'm going to go find a job for you, man. And he comes back every day and how are things going? And you're nice to him. And you're like, dude, I know you're trying your best. Maybe it takes him a couple weeks. Eventually he says, I got a job, bro. I'm going to need a couple months to save up, but I'm working at, the supermarket over here, assistant manager job. Let me save up and get my own place. And you say, sounds good. You know that you're helping him out, but he's trying. But what happens if 2 months goes by, no job? He's filthy. He's not even looking. Get out. Sorry, man. We help those who help themselves. And in this instance, California has failed miserably. So I say we come in, we help, but you've got to address the underlying issues. Take a look at this story. PJ Media reports, follow the science. 95% of California's wildfires are started by people, not global warming. If we are going to solve for this problem, we have to be sure it doesn't happen again. It's that simple. And that means if we provide relief to California, and again, we should, we have to know that the problems that caused the fires will be solved. Otherwise, we foot the bill again. And I'm not okay with that. To be fair, I'm much happier giving California money for this than Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan, whatever, Sudan. But people are starting these fires. They've arrested now 2 suspected arsonists, 73 people. The reports are that cartel gangs are starting fires to force evacuations so that these people can go and loot properties. Nah, man, not okay. California is becoming a rogue state. And New York's a rogue state for a different reason. The federal government should come in, but they've got to assume control in some degree. Heavy stipulations. The people of California want to keep voting for the likes of Newsom or whatever, fine. But I tell you, my friends, I feel like this is going to keep happening because they refuse to acknowledge their faults in this. They're posting, there's that video I mentioned the other day where it shows the trees blowing in the high winds with embers spraying. And the response is, how do you fight this? Can a MAGA please explain to me? And I'm like, my dude, you put water on it. The wind doesn't, you could spray the thing with water. The wind isn't going to stop that. They're trying to make excuses saying there's nothing we could have done. Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. If there's nothing you can done, why should we give you money? Now, I do respect they're making these arrests. I appreciate law enforcement trying, but there's a top-down problem of governance in this state. So please be safe, everybody. They say it's going to get worse. Expect it. This is why I shout out safeandreadymeals.com when I do. Haven't in a while, but because you never know when you're going to need food, water, first aid, whatever. I'll wrap it there. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know, become a member over at timcast.com. Stay tuned. We got more segments coming up, and we'll see you all then.